Hey everyone, welcome to the Discover Virginia podcast. I'm Joseph Trahan, your host for the #1 video podcast in Virginia, where we explore the rich history, vibrant culture, and iconic businesses that make our Commonwealth truly special and worth talking about. So get ready as together we discover Virginia. Hello and welcome back to Discover Virginia podcast. Today on the show, we are diving into the world of event planning. Yikes. And from weddings to parties, there is a lot that goes into creating a memorable event. Very high stakes. And I am not the best planner. So who better than to help us dive into this world than today than our guest, Pari, the Director of Event Planning at Astro Event Company. Pari, welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so excited.
Yeah, we are super excited, and because Pari, you have over 20 years of experience in the event planning space. And today I would like to, discuss the industry and how it's adapted over time and what folks should consider when planning an event. Everything from the creative process to, cultural and destination events to, of course, handling crisis management and what types of experiences our locals here in the Hampton Roads, Virginia Beach area can expect. How's that sound?
Fabulous.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, Pari, let's get things kicked off here. Where are you from and what got you to stick around and build your life and your business here in the Virginia area?
So, born in Baltimore, came here when I was about 15, and I've been here ever since. My dad's work brought us here and, fell in love with living by the beach. So I chose to stay through college, and then, here I am so many years later. I love it. And while I did college at ODU, I was actually a fashion merchandising major, where I started, I did window display for years and things, but always had an interest in event planning. Thankfully, my advisor in college was very flexible with our final project, or a lot of my classmates were doing internships with designers and things like that. I was like, what do you think about wedding planning? And she's like, we'll make this work. So she connected me with a local planner who I did my internship with. And once it was over, the planner was like, hey, do you want to stick around? I'm like, yes. So I juggled window display, during the week. And then on the weekends, I was off doing events, which was amazing. I mean, and a lot of it was just kind of like you're just thrown in the fire, and it's like you figure it out as you go. I'd be thrown on an event and I'm like, okay, we got this. So it's wild way to learn, but it was very exciting. And it eventually brought me to where I am now at Astro, which is coming up on year 12 this fall, which is insane. But just working events is how I got to meet the Astro crew, and they kind of welcomed me on hesitantly because it's at the time it was a boys club, mainly DJs, and the president at the time was like, hey, let's figure something out with weddings. And I was like, okay, I'm all in. So and here we are. So
wow, what an incredible adventure. So from basically working, having that steady check, to then going out and getting that real-time experience. I'm sure you've seen a lot of obstacles and challenges to overcome, which we'll talk about later on, but we're going to keep things light and fun right now. Pari, I understand you went to ODU, and of course, shout out to our Monarchs out there. From your early days of studying fashion merchandise, I'm curious, what's one fashion trend you noticed during your college years that has not aged well?
So that has not aged well. Ooh,
yes.
That's a good one. Well, I'm so sad. I will show my age here as far as when I started, but I'm so sad to have let the skinny jeans go.
Oh yeah, true.
I had a really, really hard time with that. So I'm trying to re-embrace the wide leg that was, big when I was younger. So it's interesting to see things cycle through. It is really what goes around comes around. So riding out what's back and what left us, it's fascinating and terrifying all at the same time. So I don't know.
Yeah,
but yeah,
I bet. So from a scale from 1 to 10, how important is dress for those working in the event planning space and setting the tone for the event itself?
It's very important. A lot of times we do a wardrobe change. If we have a heavy setup, we're in our workout gear. I feel like a lot of times TV and movies glamorize our job. You see the end result and everything's all the pretty, but it's a lot of grunt work. So, we show up in the morning, sneakers, yoga pants, ready to work, and then kind of throw on the all black, sleek. And typically you'll find most planners do that. It's like the all black uniform because you just kind of want to blend. You don't want to stand out unless every once in a while we get a client with a theme. They really want you to roll with it. So we kind of dress accordingly. But I will say fashion sneakers are critical. You want to be professional, but comfy because we're doing like sometimes 12-hour days. I actually count on those days to get my steps in. It is very exciting at the end of the day to be like, I didn't even have to work out today. Here we go.
Yes, yeah.
But yeah, like invest in a really good pair of sleek fashion sneakers and all black, and that kind of gets you through the day for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Great tip. So coming up to 12 years at Astro, I'm curious, like being in the event planning space, as you mentioned, it's not how it looks like on TV or I'm sure like, as we're all watching The Bachelorette, like how do they look so good all the time? And there's no ever make mess ups or, redos. Of course there are. I'm curious for you. What does an average day look like when it comes to planning the next event?
Planning the next event.
Yes. So not at the event itself, but your day to day when it comes to planning that next event that you're going to be
Oh,
producing.
sure thing. So, it'll initially start with an email where we need all the info, all the critical details. And from there, we'll set up our meeting where we sit down and run through it. And that way we can start to build, the framework of the timeline, which is like, the Bible for the day. And then from there, multiple meetings with the other vendors, the venue, critical that you're all on the same page, creating the layout, the floor split, the floor space. And then, kind of having those final last minute meetings with the client, collecting any of their setup items. You just really want them to feel relaxed. And that's what I always tell them once we step in, especially in a day of position versus like full service or everything. We're like the home stretch.
Yeah.
You've put all this time, money, effort, stress. We want you to enjoy it. So, as soon as we step in, they can kind of start to breathe and enjoy it. And then we handle all those behind the scenes little details and things. So like give us all your setup stuff, show up as a guest of honor, leave as a guest of honor. And we're just kind of fine tuning all those details. And they're ever changing, morning of we'll get updates, so it's just the 911 of like getting all the updated information to all the vendors. So everyone's on the same page, no surprises. Nothing's worse than, being one of the last people to know something. You're like, I need to be the first person to know this.
Especially when you're planning the event, right?
Yeah. Like, by the way, we added XYZ. I'm like, okay. So yeah, just always need to be in the know and kind of like one step ahead.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of people, it seems like behind the scenes orchestrating the various types of things going on within the event, from the caterers to the DJ. And then, of course, you as the director overseeing things. Who would you say is like the most underrated member of the team? And I'll put that with an asterisk mark of for those attending an event, these are the people you should always be sure to say thank you to if you can't make time to say thank you to anybody else.
100%. The catering team is the backbone of the event, like hands down. Like we plan and do all the things, but like without a strong catering team, the event's like off the rails. You
Yeah.
need an A team out there that knows it's not just about the food, but catering is so brutal. And one of my closest friends is a caterer and I've helped her from time to time. And I'm always at the end of the day, like, thank God I'm a planner. Like this is brutal. It's just early start, late night. It's not just the food presentation. It's the setup of the event, the delivery of the food, the service of the client, the breakdown, the cleanup. It's just, and if you don't have a team that's on point with that, we're running around bussing tables. If you don't have like an A team caterer, we're running around making
Yeah.
sure, the bride and groom are fed. But yeah, the caterer really is like the backbone of the event, hands down.
Yeah, I wouldn't think that. Like, I would think like the director, I guess, or like somebody who's like coordinating things, but it makes
Mhm.
sense, right? Too, because the food is kind of like the cue for guests, like when I'm at an event, like, oh, the drinks are here. I feel more relaxed. Oh, the food is here. Okay, now we're going to be transitioning to the next event. It's kind of like, it's like the clock of the event in a lot of ways.
Well, yeah, because honestly, I always tell our clients, where to spend their budget. And at the end of the day, like good food, open bar, good music. You're throwing a party. It's like the biggest
Right.
party you're ever going to throw. So they'll remember if the food was bad. They'll remember if the bar line was long or like, if you had like a cash bar or something, you want them just to have like a solid guest experience. And food and booze is like priority one.
Love it. Love it. What do you think, Perry, is the biggest myth about your job and the industry in general that you'd like to set the record straight on?
Well, again, like I was kind of saying earlier, how I feel like a lot of times it's represented as like kind of fluff and easy and fun and light,
Yeah,
and like we're represented in films wearing heels, popping around, where the reality is it's like you're in the trenches and it's a lot of kind of like damage control. And I mean, that's kind of where we shine and where we
sure.
thrive, when stuff hits the fan, it's like, how do you get this going while also not letting the clients know what's going on? You can have a laugh after the event and be like, this is what really happened, but you
Right.
want to make sure the ship is sailing. We always use that analogy. It's like we're the captain, we got to keep this thing flowing, like, so
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing. It's just there's so much more like dirty work. It's a team effort, but at the end of the day, you kind of feel like the responsibility on your shoulders because you kind of put all the pieces together. But if we've been in monsoons where it's like we're all like bucketing out water and mud, and it's not just like, oh, that's their job. It's like it's always an all hands on deck thing just to make sure the client gets the best experience because it's their day.
Yeah. Wow. Love it. Love it. Perry, next we're going to cover cultural and destination events.
Mhm.
And I'm curious for you personally, how has being Greek influenced your work in planning cultural and destination events?
Obviously, I'm biased. I love seeing culture in weddings. There's something so special and so like almost more intimate about that, bringing
Yeah.
that element into the day. It's because it's also something special for your guests because not all of your guests, might be of that culture, of that religion. So it's such like an extra special experience for them. So I definitely get more excited than most when it comes to that stuff. I'm like, especially of course if it's a Greek wedding. Um, but no, it's just a really special element. We just did a very, very cool like Middle Eastern wedding a few months ago, back in February, where they brought in like this whole dance team. I mean, it was so cool, so beautiful, just stuff like that. That it's and I think it's also kind of out of the box too. It's fun to see different things too and experience that and have that kind of in your toolbox for the next one.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely, absolutely. And building up that resume. And, eh, I know that you and I have a shared appreciation for the film, My Big Fat Greek Wedding, right?
Oh yes, of course.
Great film. And the movie does a good job of balancing that humor while still respecting the Greek, culture and values in a lot of ways. I'm curious as an event planner, how do you ensure that the cultural aspects of the destination event are respected and authentically represented, especially when working with, diverse traditions or traditions you may not be 100% familiar with.
Oh, it's a lot of homework. It's, a lot more on the front end where we make sure we research and we know the correct terminology. And, you don't want to ever offend anybody. You want to make sure they're confident in what you know. And you're not just like, oh, yeah, what's that called? So you really understand what you're talking about. Because also, that's why you're there. They, have faith in you to keep the event going. And, you don't want to seem like you don't know what's going on. So it is a lot
Yeah.
of front end like learning, which is fun. It's always exciting to learn something new and study new things. And again, it's just growing like the toolbox.
Absolutely, absolutely. Can you unpack a certain memory that you've had recently with the wedding or event that included a specific cultural tradition, that really, significantly impacted not only, the tone of the event, but you personally as well?
Well, yeah, just that one we had in February. It was so unique. It was in Virginia Beach, but it was so beautiful. They had this dance group. There were also like dance slash musicians come in with instruments, and it was like the parade into the venue. And it just kind of started the party off immediately. Because this one was unique too, where they were already married. So this was just the reception.
Okay.
So you already know you're just essentially hosting a party, but it wasn't just like a calm, like, oh, here's cocktail hour and then we'll get things going. It was immediately out the gate. We had the rush of the group come in, perform. Everyone kind of followed them upstairs, and it was just like excitement out the gate. It was amazing.
Oh,
It
wow.
just set the tone for the next like 4 hours. So it was amazing.
Yeah, an immediate like symbol clash, I can imagine, and then
Yeah.
followed by just a parade of celebration. That's
Oh,
wonderful.
it was so fun. I mean, I enjoyed it. Usually, I'm in like strict work mode, but I was like, this is so much fun. I think so.
Were you up there dancing with him too?
I was on the side.
Yeah, right. Just tapping your foot,
you know.
get into it. So, Perry, bringing things back home for our folks here in the Hampton Roads, Virginia Beach, Tidewater, Chesapeake
Mhm.
area, for all of our SEO terms out there. Um, what are some considerations for planning a wedding or event here in Hampton Roads area that stands out from other destinations, let's just say on the East Coast?
Yeah, I mean, time of year, because if you do plan to call this like your destination wedding, having family and friends come into the beach, whether you live here or you used to live here and just want to bring it back, it's thinking about just time of year with like hotel logistics, travel logistics. Summer is so wild here. So planning, a wedding in
Yeah,
peak summer at the ocean front has many challenges. Last summer we had a wedding down there and we were battling a big music festival. So it was kind of like getting the logistics, not just for the guests, but our vendors to make sure they could get in, park, do what they needed to do in the midst of all this chaos happening down there without the client feeling like they were like, second class to what was going on there. You still want to make them feel
sure.
like this is your day. Music festival is just happening. Um, so just kind of really looking at the calendar and knowing too like hotel rates and things like that. Again, guest experience. You want them to come enjoy it and not feel like they're going broke on like a long weekend. So it's things like that, just kind of, especially in this area, just like timing of that kind of stuff with being at the oceanfront especially.
Yeah, I can imagine competing with oceanfront events has its own set of challenges as well.
Yes.
And then, of course, not being able to coordinate everything with Pharrell because he changes things year to year, right?
Thankfully we are not at the oceanfront this October. Yeah,
Yes,
as
yes.
soon as that
No
news hit.
weddings, no weddings oceanfront this October. Nope, just got to go November.
So yeah, so we lucked out this time. So
Perfect. Well, Perry, our last segment here is crisis management. And we could talk logistics all day, but let's get nitty-gritty. Let's throw out some scenarios here and have you tackle them one by one. Are you up for a little challenge?
let's do it.
All righty.
All right.
First scenario.
Okay.
Your client, husband and wife, they split up the roles of wedding tasks, and the husband, per usual, per tradition, is tasked with only one thing, and that one thing is picking the wedding band. He has come down to his 4 picks, but he needs your help picking the final wedding band. The only catch is you can only help him select the wedding band solely on their name. Are you ready to hear the names?
Bring it.
All right, first one, Quantum Pickle.
Okay.
Second one, Celestial Driftwood.
Okay.
Third one, Cosmic Waffle Brigade.
Okay.
And the last one, Regenerating Degenerates.
Well, I'm oddly drawn to the last one. I feel like driftwood might be the safest. I don't know.
Which one would you pick? Only going off of the names.
Oh, the degenerate one. I mean, how can you not?
Regenerating Degenerates. Love it, Perry. All right, let's keep this rolling with scenario 2.
Okay.
On the eve of her wedding, Emma discovers a shocking betrayal. Her fiance Jack has cheated on her with his best man Mark. Overwhelmed with pain and confusion, she naturally comes to you
Okay.
for advice on how to go about managing the event she just poured hundreds of thousands of dollars into and can't afford to reschedule. How do you try and save the day? I have some recommendations, some suggestions. So first one is confront and cancel. So immediate confrontation and wedding cancellation. Second is postpone for clarity. So postpone the wedding to make it, an informed decision, right? It's a big decision. Option 3, proceed with modifications. So continue with the wedding, but modifying the roles. So just, taking out the best man, taking out the drama. Maybe it was a one-night thing kind of deal. And then last option, transform the event. Maybe transform the wedding into a celebration of independence or perhaps another theme that can still leverage the event and everything you planned for.
Yeah, I mean, if you can't cancel, then transform.
Sure.
We'll like just kind of pivot this way and keep it moving, and come up with, a celebration of some sort that's just, half the guests probably at that point. So
Right. Exactly. Perry, that was a tough one. And that was to prepare you for the final one, which is the hardest of them all. But you have 20 years of experience. You got this. You got this covered. Okay. All right. Scenario 3. Here we go. The annual charity gala, Glamour for Good, is set to be the highlight of the season here in Virginia Beach. So we have a guest list of, famous politicians, famous local artists like Pharrell, and a lavish venue down at the Cavalier, and an entertainment lineup like none other. The event promises an unforgettable evening, and everything leading up to it is basically a night under the stars, elegant decor, renowned caterer. You got it, right? It's amazing. Here's what happens though. As guests begin to arrive, a series of unfortunate events unfold. The catering company calls out an hour before the event. The lead singer of the band falls ill just before their set. And a gust of wind down at the ocean front, right? Because I guess we're in hurricane season,
We are.
topples over the outside decor and knocks out the power. And because it's an older building, it's going to take a little bit of time to get it together. Perry, are you aware of all of the crazy made-up disasters that have occurred at this point?
We've lost our caterer, we lost our lead singer, decor, and power.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
It's awful. But fortunately for us, we have you, our master planner. So here's some ideas, some solutions that we could possibly go through. And I'm curious on what your take is. And you could, of course, add your own solution because I am no expert. Neither is the internet. First one is immediate damage control, like trying to save the day, get a last minute caterer, get a last minute electrician. Second one might be a plan B activation. So the solution two is, create a second event with the resources that you currently have at your available to you. Solution three is guest engagement. So maybe utilizing some of the guests, some a cappella singing, some dancing, maybe some Congo lines. I don't know, something crazy. And then the fourth one, solution four, just reschedule the event, apologize, and just make it bigger and badder than it was going to be previously scheduled. Perry, what are we going to do?
So we're doing a combination of the first three. We're not going to cancel.
Let's hear it. Rapid fire. What you got?
So yeah, so this is why you have your planner, because they've got the resources. They know who to reach out to. So number one is putting out the feelers for food. Get that ball rolling. While that's happening, you get your team in place to maybe either start up with like the wireless sound system to have some music going, somebody bring in a bunch of candles to have, now you've got like the intimate setting. So we're going candlelight. We've got like wireless stuff happening here. We've got vendors with generators. And then getting like more involvement from the other guests in the mix. But yeah, you don't like, we can make it happen. And again, that's typically where you'll find most of the vendors in our area thrive. It's like that grace under pressure. So, and because we have the experience and the kind of connections, you know who to call and like how to reimagine it. We've definitely had, obviously not to the scale of, like the celebrity gala, but we've definitely had weddings where the power's gone out and we've kept it going. And, weather here is always a factor. So we always kind of know how to pivot to keep it going. And, the initial shock for the client, I always tell them is going to turn into an amazing memory because, weddings come and go for a lot of guests. They had a good time, but they're not going to forget yours.
Right. Yeah.
This one will not be forgotten. And it's how you write it out. You don't want to, again, all the effort you put into it, don't let it ruin the night. You just kind of keep it moving and go with the flow. And you're like, this is what it is now. And it turns into a great memory.
Absolutely. Perry coming out full throttle, running the gambit of all of the craziness going on with events. Perry, thank you for flexing your skill set for everything that you offer Astro and our locals here in the area. I'd love to roll out the red carpet for you, Perry, as we wrap up today's conversation. Astro Event Company, give us the rundown of exactly what you guys do in addition to your amazing skill set that you just provided for us today.
Thank you. Yes. Okay. So Astro is all things events. So I'm just one piece of the puzzle there. I run the planning department, but first and foremost, Astro started as an entertainment company with DJs. So we've got an arsenal of talent. In addition to our amazing DJs, rentals have become a huge portion of what we do now. So it's not just, photo booths and lighting. Now it's beautiful dishware, linens, beautiful chairs, drape, any kind of element you need, outside of, like food and photography and flowers. It's like kind of everything else is rolled into us. So it's really is a one-stop shop. And because we're such a big company, it's kind of like we like to let our clients' imaginations run wild. So when they come to us with elaborate ideas, a lot of times we're like, we'll buy it or we'll build it, we'll make it happen. And then that's one more thing we've got for the next event that we're like, look at this cool thing, and like a client brought the idea to us. So, and like an ever growing entertainment company.
Lovely, lovely. Perry, thank you again so much for your time. We
Yeah.
really, really appreciate it. And of course, thank you to our dedicated listeners for checking us out on another episode of Discover Virginia. Tune in to all the links in the description below for everything Perry and the Astro Event Company have going on. And when it comes to planning your next event, regardless of what the event is, or what events or things that you want to build, let Perry and her team create it for you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.